Hey everybody, Dr. Ohlson from Sports Medicine Orthopedic Centers. So I'm going to continue my talk on PRP. And one of the next questions that I'd like to address is regarding whether all PRP is the same. I think the answer is a resounding no. There's a lot of differences between manufacturers that we find regarding PRP and how is it obtained and how it's processed. This is a slide that I borrowed from a recent talk that I attended, and as you can see in the left column, those are all different manufacturers that provide PRP systems. This is by no means an exhaustive list, and within that list there is a significant amount of variability regarding the type of PRP that you end up with once it's harvested from a patient. So that slide illustrates that there is no shortage of PRP systems available on the market. These are designed by manufacturers that are then sold to physician offices and hospitals. So that dovetails into the next question: what makes these PRP systems different from each other? And one of the biggest variable factors between the different systems is the number of platelets that it's able to generate. And that seems to be a very important concept when determining whether to apply PRP. What seems to be evolving in literature is that you simply can't have enough platelets. However, we also seem to be understanding that there's definitely a threshold where you can have too little. So I'll try not to get too technical with this next slide, but the one thing I want to illustrate is that it shows that if you get below a threshold of 3.5 billion platelets, the outcomes from a PRP injection seem to be less predictable. However, if you're above 3.5 billion, that's where we start to see some favorable outcomes with the use of PRP. So what we basically understand is that the more platelets you have, it seems to be if you get above a certain threshold, that's where we start to see positive outcomes from PRP. So that begs the next question: how do you increase the number of platelets? Well, there's really two ways to do that. The first is you simply take more blood. The more blood you take, the more platelet-rich plasma that you get. The second way in which you get more platelets is you have a system that is capable of concentrating that blood and extracting as many platelets as possible. So, as I said before, getting to that threshold of 3.5 billion platelets seems to be important for getting the best response you can get from PRP. Our system, for example, we take 60 cc's of blood from a patient. This is a 60 cc syringe. And with a sample of 60 cc's of blood, we're able to get upwards of around 10 billion platelets. We have 4 liters of blood circulating in our body, so it's by all means safe. So I do think that's an important question that you can ask your provider. They may or may not know the ins and outs of the system itself, but they'll certainly have an idea of how much blood they take. And if, for example, they take, let's say, 20 cc's of blood or even less, you may have substantial difficulty getting to that threshold of 3.5 billion platelets, which seems to be important for getting the best response possible from PRP. So I appreciate everyone taking some time to listen to this ongoing discussion about PRP. It's a very exciting topic in regenerative medicine. The technique is evolving, and I think over time we will get better at it. I think there's a lot of variables involved, many of which are outside the scope of this discussion. That includes the different proteins that are in PRP, whether or not you have leukocyte-rich PRP or leukocyte-poor PRP, or whether or not the platelets are activated. Those topics are still being openly debated. However, I've tried to provide some generalized concepts that I think are evolving in the literature and questions that can be asked of the provider that is offering PRP as a potential solution. Most importantly is to have an understanding of how many platelets are obtained from the sample. And as I said before, the two key concepts are the system's ability to concentrate the sample, and the amount of blood being taken from the patient. So feel free, if you have any additional questions regarding this topic, please feel free to head over to our website at smocSC.com. Thanks again.